Alex, I spent 30 years thinking that if a tool didn't involve a blade spinning fast enough to shave a mountain or a hammer heavy enough to reshape destiny, it wasn't really making. Then I saw a beam of light turn a piece of birch plywood into a lace doily, and I realized I'd been living in the Stone Age.
Spoken like a man who just discovered fire, or, well, concentrated light. But honestly, Tiger, every time I walk past the laser room at the makerspace, it smells like a campfire and looks like a sci-fi movie. It's a little intimidating for those of us who grew up with just a cordless drill and a dream.
It shouldn't be. It's just a very fancy, very hot pencil that never needs sharpening. But it's got its own set of rules. You don't just walk up to a Trotec or a Universal and whisper sweet nothings to it. You have to speak its language, which is usually vector lines and exhaust fans.
Right, and that's what we're diving into today. The fundamentals. Because I've seen people treat these machines like a microwave. Just pop something in, hit a button, and wait for the ding. But I'm guessing you've had a few dings that ended in a fire extinguisher?
Let's just say that the first time I tried to etch a leather wallet, I didn't realize that chrome-tanned leather reacts to a laser by producing a scent that I can only describe as ancient gym socks soaked in swamp water. Plus, the fumes are basically a chemistry experiment gone wrong.
Okay, so let's start at the very beginning for the folks listening who are staring at a laser cutter for the first time. What is actually happening inside that box? We're talking CO2 lasers mostly, right?
Exactly. For most of us in the maker world, we're dancing with CO2. It's a gas-filled tube that gets excited by electricity and spits out a beam. That beam hits a series of mirrors. Think of it like a high-stakes game of pool until it hits a lens that focuses all that energy into a point smaller than a mosquito's eyelash. That's where the magic and the smoke happens.
And that point is doing one of two things, cutting or engraving. But in the software, those look like two very different beasts.
They are. You've got your vectors and your rasters. A vector is just a mathematical path. The laser follows it like a train on tracks to cut all the way through. A raster is like an old-school inkjet printer. The head zips back and forth, firing pulses to etch an image or a logo into the surface.
I've seen your vector files, Tiger. They're chaotic. I remember you trying to cut that gear clock and the laser just kept jumping from one side of the bed to the other like a caffeinated grasshopper.
Yeah, I hadn't joined my curves. That's a rookie move. If you leave your lines as a bunch of tiny segments, the machine has to stop and think at every single junction. It's like driving through a city with a stop sign at every house. You want long, smooth paths. Join your curves, remove the duplicates, or you'll be sitting there until the next eclipse waiting for your part to finish.
So, file prep is huge. We're talking Illustrator, Inkscape, Rhino, or Lightburn. But let's talk about the physical side. You can't just throw any old scrap in there. I saw a sign at the UNSW Makerspace that basically had a most wanted list of forbidden materials.
Oh, they aren't kidding. If you put PVC or vinyl in a laser, you aren't just ruining a project, you're creating hydrochloric acid gas. It'll eat the lungs right out of your chest and turn the expensive guts of the machine into a rusted heap in about 10 minutes. It's the ultimate no-go.
So stick to the classics? Plywood, acrylic, cardboard?
Mostly. But even with plywood, you have to be picky. You want interior grade or birch ply. If it's exterior grade, the glue they use is designed to survive a hurricane, which means the laser just boils it and creates a sticky, charred mess instead of a clean cut. And don't even get me started on polycarbonate. People mistake it for acrylic all the time.
What happens there?
It doesn't cut. It just melts and soot balls. It looks like you tried to cut a window out of a burnt marshmallow. If it's Lexan, keep it far away. You want cast acrylic if you're looking for that beautiful frosty engraved look.
Okay, so I've got my birch ply. I've got my perfectly joined SVG file. I walk up to the machine. What's the pre-flight ritual? Because I know you have a very specific way of doing this.
It's a liturgy, Alex. First, you check the bed. If the person before you left a mountain of tiny wooden cutouts, we call them chads. In the honeycomb, you're asking for a fire. You've got to clear the deck. Then, the most important step, the air assist and the exhaust.
The vacuum that sounds like a jet engine taking off?
Exactly. If that's not pulling the smoke away, your lens gets clouded with sap and soot. A dirty lens is a dead lens. It'll crack under the heat because it can't breathe. And the air assist, that little puff of air at the nozzle, it's not just to keep things cool, it's to blow the flame out before it starts. It's like having a tiny, very focused fire department on the job.
And then there's the focus. I watched you once spend 5 minutes fiddling with a little brass gauge, looking like a jeweler.
If you're off by even a 16th of an inch, your focus beam turns into a blurry flashlight. Instead of a surgical cut, you get a wide, charred trench. You have to be precise. You set the height of the bed so the focal point is exactly on the surface of the material or slightly inside it if you're cutting through something thick.
Okay, let's talk about the watch. The makerspace rules are very clear. Never leave the laser unattended. But Tiger, some of these jobs take 40 minutes. Surely I can go grab a Snickers.
I once thought that. I was cutting some corrugated cardboard for a prototype. Cardboard is basically just prepackaged kindling, mind you. I stepped away to answer a text. I came back 30 seconds later, and there was a localized sun forming inside the cabinet,
You actually had a fire?
a small one. But in a laser cutter, a small fire becomes a big disaster in heartbeats because the exhaust fan is literally fanning the flames. You stay there. You watch the dot. If the dot turns into a flame that follows the head, you hit that big red e-stop button like you're winning a game show.
So, no Snickers. Got it. But what about when things go right? There's a certain satisfaction to that reveal when you lift the lid.
Oh, it's better than Christmas morning, especially with inlays. You can cut a hole in a walnut board and a shape out of maple, and if your kerf settings are right, they'll snap together with a click that'll make your spine tingle.
Wait, Kerf, explain that for the folks at home.
The laser beam has a thickness. It's tiny, maybe zero point 0.1 millimeters, but it's there. If you cut a circle out of a square, the hole is 0.1 millimeters too big, and the circle is 0.1 millimeters too small. If you want them to fit tight, you have to account for that in your software. It's the difference between a professional joint and something that rattles like a loose tooth.
It seems like the possibilities are endless once you get past the don't burn the building down phase. You can do signage, jigs for the wood shop, even personalized gifts.
I've used it to make templates for my router. Instead of spending 3 hours at the bandsaw trying to get a perfect curve, I let the laser do it in 3 minutes. Then I just flush trim my hardwood to the template. It's a bridge between the digital and the analog.
I think my favorite thing you've made was that failed pumpkin carving.
Oh, the laser cut pumpkin. Yeah, the Makerspace guide says you can do it, but they don't tell you that a laser seared pumpkin smells like a very confused Thanksgiving dinner. It worked, but I wouldn't recommend putting it in your living room.
So for someone listening who's ready to take the plunge, maybe they're heading to their local makerspace like Kazoo or UNSW, what's the one piece of advice that'll save them the most heartache?
Do a test cut every single time. Materials change. One batch of plywood might have more moisture or a different glue than the last one. Take a tiny scrap, run a 1-inch square, and make sure it actually drops out of the sheet. Don't commit to a 2-hour engrave only to find out you didn't quite break through the bottom layer.
And keep the lid closed until the smoke clears. I learned that the hard way, opened it too fast, and got a face full of burnt acrylic fumes.
Yeah, let the exhaust do its job for 10 seconds after the beep. Your lungs will thank you.
It's funny, we spend so much time talking about the tech, the power settings, the speed, the vector paths, but at the end of the day, it's just another way to tell a story in wood and metal.
That's the truth of it. The laser isn't the craftsman. You are. The machine is just a very obedient apprentice that happens to have a literal death ray. Use it to do the things your hands can't, but don't let it take the soul out of the work.
Well said. I think I'm ready to go try that leather engraving again, but this time, I'll check the tanning process first.
Good luck. And Alex, maybe keep the fire extinguisher within arm's reach, just for old time's sake.
Always, Tiger.